The American landscape is dominated by symbols, but few names evoke as much raw emotion, ambition, and controversy as the 5 letters etched in gold atop skyscrapers: Trump. To understand the billionaire empire, you have to look past the political rallies and the social media firestorms, and look at the cold, hard masonry of Manhattan. We are witnessing a financial odyssey that spans over half a century, a journey that transformed a local real estate developer into a global icon of capitalism. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about the psychology of the big deal and the relentless pursuit of a legacy that refuses to be ignored. Whether you view him as a master of industry or a maestro of marketing, the mechanics of his wealth are a masterclass in high-stakes leverage that every American should understand. The secret to the Trump aura lies in the realization that a brand is often more valuable than the physical assets it represents. While other developers were content to hide behind corporate logos, Donald Trump turned his own persona into the ultimate collateral. In the early days, he didn't just build apartments. He built an image of luxury that the average American could aspire to, even if they never stepped foot in a penthouse. This section explores how he utilized the media as a free advertising engine, turning every press conference and every public feud into a brick in his financial fortress. By the time the world realized what he was doing, the Trump name had become synonymous with a specific brand of unapologetic success that resonated from the boardrooms of Wall Street to the living rooms of the Midwest. To truly grasp the scale of this empire, you must follow the money through the labyrinth of over 500 separate business entities. Most people see a building and think real estate, but Trump saw a multidimensional chessboard involving tax abatements, licensing fees, and management contracts. As we dive into this 2-hour breakdown, we will peel back the layers of the Trump organization to reveal how it functions as a private, family-run powerhouse that operates outside the scrutiny of public shareholders. This independence allowed him to take risks that would have fired any other CEO, creating a resilient structure that could weather economic storms that wiped out his competitors. Get ready, because we are about to decode the DNA of a multi-billion-dollar dynasty. Every skyscraper begins with a single shovel in the ground, and for Donald Trump, that ground was the outer boroughs of New York City. While the narrative often focuses on the small loan from his father, the real inheritance was a PhD in the brutal world of New York construction and political maneuvering. Fred Trump was a master of FHA-backed housing, building thousands of units for the middle class in Queens and Brooklyn. It was here, amidst the smell of wet cement and the grit of the job site, that Donald learned that the most important part of a building isn't the steel, it's the relationship with the people who hold the permits and the unions who provide the labor. The move to Manhattan was the ultimate gamble, a manifest destiny moment that saw a kid from Queens crossing the East River to conquer the world's most expensive island. The centerpiece of this conquest was the crumbling Commodore Hotel next to Grand Central Terminal. At a time when New York City was flirting with bankruptcy and the streets were plagued by crime, Trump saw a diamond in the rough. He didn't just buy a hotel, he negotiated a legendary 40-year tax abatement that essentially forced the city to subsidize his ambition. This was the birth of the Trump style, using massive public incentives to create private luxury, a strategy that would become the blueprint for every major project that followed. Success in the 1970s and 80s required a level of audacity that bordered on the delusional, and Donald Trump had it in spades. He understood that in Manhattan, perception is reality. By renaming the Commodore the Grand Hyatt and cladding it in reflective glass, he signaled to the world that the old, decaying New York was dead and a new, shiny era had arrived. This section breaks down the financial engineering behind his early wins, showing how he leveraged his father's credit and his own charisma to convince banks that he was a sure bet. He wasn't just building hotels, he was building a reputation as the man who could make the impossible happen in a city that had given up on itself. The Trump Organization is the heartbeat of the empire, a private conglomerate that acts as a central nervous system for hundreds of disparate ventures. Unlike public companies like Apple or Google, the Trump organization doesn't have to report quarterly earnings to the SEC, allowing it to move with a level of speed and secrecy that is nearly impossible in modern business. This pillar is about the power of the family office model, where the patriarch makes the final call and the executives are inner circle loyalists. We will examine how this structure allowed Trump to pivot from real estate to Miss Universe to vodka and back again, always keeping the core assets protected behind a wall of corporate veils. In the digital age, attention is the new gold, and Trump Media and Technology Group, TMTG, represents the ultimate monetization of a political movement. With the launch of Truth Social, Trump proved that he didn't need Silicon Valley's permission to reach his audience. He could own the pipes themselves. This section analyzes the massive valuation of TMTG and how it functioned as a wealth multiplier during his return to the spotlight. By leveraging the power of a SPAC merger, he turned his massive following into a publicly traded asset, creating a multi-billion-dollar cushion that transformed his net worth overnight and provided him with a digital fortress that no tech giant could deplatform. Trump Golf isn't just about the sport of kings. It is a masterclass in land banking and high-end hospitality. When Trump buys a golf course, he isn't just looking at the green fees. He's looking at the hundreds of acres of pristine real estate that can be used for luxury residential development or conservation easements. From the rolling hills of Bedminster to the iconic dunes of Aberdeen, these properties serve as the physical backdrop for the Trump lifestyle. We will detail how these courses act as a global networking hub, where the world's elite pay six-figure initiation fees just for a chance to walk the fairways of the Trump brand, creating a recurring revenue stream that is as steady as it is prestigious. There is a thin line between a billionaire and a bankrupt, and in the early 1990s, Donald Trump was walking that line with a blindfold on. The Atlantic City casino market had turned into a quagmire, and the Taj Mahal was threatening to pull the entire empire into the Atlantic Ocean. This is the part of the story that most biographers get wrong. They see the bankruptcies as a failure, but Trump saw them as a tool. In the world of high finance, if you owe the bank $10,000, you have a problem. If you owe the bank $9 billion, the bank has a problem. This section explores the too big to fail strategy long before it was a buzzword in the 2008 financial crisis. The art of the comeback is rooted in the ability to convince your creditors that your name is the only thing that can get them their money back. Trump famously sat down with dozens of bankers and reminded them that if they foreclosed on his buildings and stripped his name off the front, the value would plummet. He turned his personal brand into a security interest that the banks couldn't afford to lose. This period of his life was a trial by fire that forced him to lean out his operations and move toward the asset-light model of licensing, which we see today. It was during these dark years that the myth of the unstoppable Trump was truly forged in the heat of litigation and debt restructuring. America loves a second act, and Trump's return from the edge of financial ruin is one of the greatest redemption arcs in business history. By the late 90s, he had cleared the decks and was ready to capitalize on the new millennium's obsession with celebrity. He didn't just recover, he evolved. He realized that owning the building was expensive and risky, but owning the idea of the building was pure profit. This section details how he used his survival as proof of his genius, rebranding himself as the ultimate survivor. This psychological resilience is what allowed him to transition from a New York developer into a global brand that could eventually take over the most powerful office in the world. As we stand at the summit of this 2-hour journey, the question isn't just how he did it, but what his journey teaches us about the changing nature of wealth. The Trump empire is a testament to the fact that in the 21st century, your reputation is your most valuable currency. You don't need $1 billion to start thinking like a billionaire. You need the audacity to believe that you belong in the room where the deals happen. We've looked at the 7 pillars, the bankruptcies, and the triumphs, and the common thread is a refusal to accept the limits that others try to place on you. This is the Trump code. Never settle, never back down, and always, always keep building. The blueprint for success in the modern era requires a mix of old-school grit and new-school media savvy. Donald Trump didn't just build skyscrapers. He built a narrative that millions of Americans saw themselves in. A narrative of winning against the odds and taking back what is yours. Whether you are looking to start a small business or climb the corporate ladder, the lessons of leverage, branding, and persistence are universal. You have to be willing to put your name on your work and stand behind it, even when the critics are screaming. That is how you turn a vision into a reality, and a reality into a legacy that lasts for generations. Now, the torch is passed to you. What will you build with the lessons you've learned today? The story of the Trump billion-dollar empire is still being written, with every new deal and every new venture adding a chapter to the history books. But the most important chapter is the one you write for yourself. America was built by dreamers who weren't afraid to be too big or too loud. As you click away from this video, carry with you the spirit of the deal and the hunger for greatness. The sky isn't the limit, it's just the place where you put your name in gold. Thank you for watching, and remember, think big and then think bigger.